What's going on, guys? Nathan here, bringing you some more Team Fortress 2 as always, and today I'd like to talk to you about whether the Backburner is overpowered. And this is a question that's it hasn't really been haunting me, but it's just sort of curiosity that I've always retained since I really started playing this game. And because I remember when I was like 12 and I started out TF2, I actually hated the Backburner with like my entire fiber of my being. Just like back then, the Natasha was overpowered and the Backburner was overpowered. Those were the two weapons that everybody hated, just period, end of story. You hated them or you didn't play TF2. And yeah, so I'd just like to discuss that with you guys and try to get your opinions on the subject. And yeah, let's get started. So note about this gameplay here, this was on Egypt, and I'm skipping a lot of boring parts such as me standing next to a dispenser or just me not getting any action, that's what she said. But basically, like, a lot of playing Pyro is kind of wandering around the map, and especially with Backburner Pyro, this is especially set up for ambush styles, so a lot of what you do as Backburner Pyro is just kind of, you know, wait for enemies so you can burn them with the crits in the back and make use of that. But yeah, so I'm just going to skip a lot of parts, and this was once again a really long round. I think it was 15 minutes and I got it down to about 7 minutes. So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of like rambling about the gameplay now, but actually let's get started. So I'm just going to list some things that people would argue that it is overpowered versus arguments that people would make to say that it is not overpowered, and I'll try to be like not as biased as possible, but I will just say like right up front that I'm leaning a little bit towards is overpowered. But anyway, you know, I'm not like set like in a position like I am on the vlog how like I think that flamethrower is overpowered, but I'll just try to give both sides of the argument, and I kind of got a notepad list here of, like, you know, once again, arguments people would make for each side. So yeah, I'll start with that. So this list does not have many arguments for either side, being this flamethrower does not differ all that much from the original, and the stats on the Backburner are actually that it has the ability to get guaranteed crits from behind, and then the con on the actual stats of the flamethrower is that it costs plus 150% ammo cost. Now, for an argument that somebody would make to say that this is overpowered, is that you get guaranteed crits from behind, and although this does play a lot towards what Valve intended to play it to, which is the Pyro being an ambush type of class, guaranteed crits still is very powerful in Team Fortress 2. However, I'm not really sure these crits are really overpowered, because if you think about it, well, actually there's a couple of reasons, but the first reason is that if you start flaming somebody from behind, let's say with the original flamethrower, what are honestly the odds that they will be able to turn around and kill you before they die from your flames, being you have that afterburn that they have to look after, and also, you know, the initial flaming just does so much damage. And honestly, I've only had it a few times where I've gone to flame a demo or a soldier with the default flamethrower from behind, and they were able to turn around and one-shot me with like a pipe or a rocket or something. So the odds of them surviving flaming from behind is very little, and you'd have to be really good to, you know, get the shot on the pyro that's flaming you to survive and, you know, get rid of that afterburn, which is just as likely to kill you. However, the only notable exception to this rule of pretty much like classes dying from just flaming from behind, it's kind of a guaranteed kill type of rule, is that heavies being, or really overhealed soldiers, because within that 300 to 450 health range, it is really, really hard to kill somebody in that little time slot where the victim has to respond, you know, turn around and then get shots on you, because once again, like with a soldier you can shoot a rocket and miss, but with heavies, first of all, they have more health, and second of all, their minigun can get on target so much better, being, you know, you can't really miss as a heavy, you just kind of like point and shoot and you get kills. So that's really the only exception. Another argument that people might make regarding this flamethrower being overpowered is the fact that Valve added an air blast. So in my opinion, I thought this flamethrower was pretty good even before Valve added an air blast to it, but the fact that they did makes it even better, which, you know, once again just boosts its credibility towards being overpowered. And I wouldn't necessarily agree with this, but I do kind of see that Valve does want the Pyro to have an air blast, because if you look at the 4 flamethrowers available, you have the default, the degreaser, the Backburner, and then the Phlogistinator. And if you take away the Backburner's Air Blast, once again, only half of the flamethrowers have Air Blasts, which means that, you know, it's not really a guaranteed thing. So I give props to Valve for keeping sort of the Pyro's like signature thing, which is the Air Blast, to their flamethrowers. However, I mean, once again, it just sort of adds to the credibility of this flamethrower being overpowered. However, a counter argument to this is that with Valve adding the Air Blast to it, which I actually support once I learned this, I actually recently learned that Valve took away the Backburners plus 20 or plus 15% damage, I think it was, and I don't know which update this was, but they took away the extra damage that the Backburner has, and I would much rather take a weapon that new players use that has an Air Blast so they can at least learn that technique, however rare it may be on the battlefield that they use it, versus a flamethrower that has plus damage and just teaches new players to WM1 all the time. So props to Valve for that. Once they got rid of the damage boost, which I just noticed, like, now I support the fact that it has an Air Blast, because once again, it just helps out your team so much more, and honestly, it makes everything fair, because if you have a flamethrower that has added damage, and that thing will pretty much dominate in flame fights with other pyros, and yeah, so props to you, Valve, once again. So the counter arguments to this flamethrower not being overpowered, however minimal, is that the Air Blast costs 50 ammo per Air Blast, and then once again Valve took away that added damage, which I will admit that I went over to the side a little bit after learning that Valve took away that damage, because that was one of my main arguments back in the day when I thought this was overpowered, is that in those flame fights, that extra 15% damage or whatever percentage it was just like devastating, and that was just a big thing to me. But now that's gone, so this flamethrower just went to a new level in my eyes. But in terms of not being overpowered, the air blasting costing 50 ammo, and my thoughts on this con is that it's really mixed, because the air blasting costing 50 ammo, there's three factors here. The first is that because you can only get in 4 air blasts, that means that you cannot help your team as much, but the counter argument to this is that you could stand next to a dispenser, and there's lots of ammo packs around the map, so those two kind of balance each other, and I'm not really sure which side to take. And another factor is that with only 4 air blasts, you can't help out your team as efficiently, which really is a punishment in itself. But on the other side of that, it's like, should this really be a punishment, is taking away the air blast once again, because, you know, maybe players should learn how to help out their team versus just WM1ing. But honestly, I'm not really sure how to explain that to its fullest extent. And anyway, I'm kind of over the gameplay here, and honestly, I completely forget the third factor I was talking about, because I was so absorbed in my thoughts. And yeah, so once I remember that, after this video is posted, I'm going to freaking kick myself. But anyway, I kind of went over the gameplay here, and sorry about that, but you know, I'd rather make a video too short than too long, and you know, stuff like that. But anyways, guys, that will wrap up the video, and please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm really curious as to what other people think about this weapon, and if you liked the video, please leave a like. I really appreciate it, and if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe for a lot of TF2, being, as always, I post a lot of that to my channel and stuff and junk like that. And anyway, I will stop ranting, being you're probably just staring at a black screen right now. So anyway, see you later. Peace out.